All right, let's begin. So as with any meditation, find a safe and comfortable place where you will not be disturbed. Typically sitting upright with your eyes open or closed. Getting a sense of your body here and now. Breathing easily. Chest rising and falling naturally. Good. Now bring to mind the sense of being with someone who you know loves you. Perhaps get a picture of that person or a memory of a situation. And with that sense of being with this person who loves you, a growing feeling inside of being cared about. Of being loved and seen and cherished. If it's hard to get that sense of feeling cared about, that's all right. Even below the level of conscious awareness, good things are happening inside your own brain in response to my voice. All right. Now throughout this meditation, continue to have a general sense of this other person being with you who has really loved you or really loves you today. Maybe get an image of sitting in a room with that other person at your side or behind you. And from time to time throughout the meditation, keep bringing up again the feeling inside of being cared about. Now get a sense of the little child you once were. Maybe a memory of being in a particular situation, or even an image from a photograph of being a young and vulnerable child. Sweet and precious and young. There may be emotions that come up when you imagine that young and precious child you were. And that's all right. But among those emotions, find a basic sense of goodwill and caring for that young child you were. Perhaps imagine what you as an adult would do if somehow you could be with that young child you were and that little kid needed some help. You'd help, of course. Or imagine what you would do if, as an adult, you were with that little child who needed some comfort. And now imagine that child upset or in pain, suffering, and bring a quality of compassion, of warmth and concern to that little kid. You might do this with phrases in your mind directed toward that young child. Phrases like, "May you be free from suffering. May you be safe and happy. And imagine or sense that that young child has received your compassion, has felt it in some way. Get a sense now of that young child you were being a part of you today. Perhaps with a kind of image of that young child moving into you, merging with you, entering your heart, becoming part of your body. Or just being a sense of you, kind of down in the lower levels of your mind. Keep directing your compassion toward that young part of yourself. And get a sense that that young part of yourself has received your compassion, your warmth and concern, and is now more at peace. All right. And now for the next step, imagine a kind of movie that moves through your teenage years, year after year, decade after decade, however long or short it is, up to the present time. Kind of get a fast movie of the difficulties you faced going through your life and the hard things you dealt with. That person, that younger version of you, was not perfect, but certainly deserves some basic goodwill, just like everyone else on the planet. Find some basic goodwill in your heart, some basic warmth and concern for that person moving forward in time all those years. Bring to mind some of the specific sorrows or difficulties that younger version of yourself faced, and bring compassion to that younger version of yourself. And now get a sense of that younger person, that younger version of you is a part of you today at the lower levels of your mind. And direct compassion now, basic warmth and goodwill and concern to those deeper layers of yourself. Getting a sense that those layers somehow are feeling your compassion and are more at peace. Now bringing to mind a current situation that is difficult or painful for you. Not letting it upset you right now, simply bringing it to mind. And then finding basic goodwill for yourself in that situation. Basic warmth and concern. Not getting sucked into the details of the situation, but resting in a heart of compassion. Perhaps expressing that compassion with soft sentences in your mind, like, "May you be free from suffering. May you be safe and happy. May all that work out for you." and get a sense of feeling your own compassion for yourself. And it's sinking in. And bringing you a greater sense of peace. In this next meditation about the inner protector, we're going to work with the way that the brain tends to set up basic scripts or models, sometimes called object relations paradigms of relationships. In other words, of self and other, or self and world. One of the main models of the way in which we grow up and also live as adults in our relationship is the fundamental structure that has three characters in it. It's kind of like the cast of a play of the inner child, nurturing parent, and critical parent, or by other names, the inner victim, the protector, and the persecutor. It's important to realize that these inner scripts are tendencies that we have that are developed through real-life experiences that reinforce them in one way or another, and that whatever was happening outside ourselves as we were growing up that fit the pattern of that basic plot line, even though the characters might change, the plot's the same, those characters can then become a part of ourselves today. In other words, that if in, let's say, your childhood, there was a parent who was particularly nurturing, as well as a parent who tended more toward the challenging or critical or even punishing end of the spectrum, both of those parents are in some senses inside your head today. So that inside your head today is both the capacity to be nurturing, protective, encouraging, kind, and so forth, as well as a capacity to be challenging, critical, harsh, and even mean, both toward yourself and when those parts or subpersonalities, you could even call them, get activated toward other people. Now, this triad, if you will, this fundamental threesome of characters is very important because just about all of us have a sense of a vulnerable inner being, maybe with shadings of being young deep down inside. And almost all of us also have an internalized critic, a part of ourself that is very critical, judgmental, pushy, even mean or harsh or very punishing toward ourselves, which, alas, sometimes can get activated toward other people. But too few of us have a strong, self-nurturing figure internalized inside. It's kind of like, imagine there you are sitting in the court of final appeals, and there's a super, super harsh prosecutor going on and on and on about all your failings. And your own defender, the protector, who's supposed to be taking good care of you, is just kind of half asleep or really, really small or really just overwhelmed by this big, powerful, super-duper prosecutor. That's what the interior mind of many of us is like. That's why it's really important to strengthen that sense of an inner protector. It's the parts of you that are on your side, that are for you, that encourage you, that look on your good parts, that argue against the inner critic, tell that inner critic where he, she is wrong or should shut up or message received already, now sit down and move on, etc., etc. So we're going to do a meditation in a moment in which you'll be developing that part of yourself more and more, or accessing it increasingly in daily life. So as usual, find a seat that's comfortable, sitting erect, both relaxed and alert. Being aware of your body breathing. Sensing how the air itself is nurturing you. Now imagine being in a room or some sort of space that's completely safe. It could be a place you know, like your bedroom, or it could be more of an imagined place, like a special cabin, or even simply a room. Whatever it is, I'll call it your safe space. So imagine yourself sitting inside your safe space. You might get a clear image, or there simply might be more of a conceptual knowing that that's where you are. In any case, here you are inside your safe space. Breathing comfortably with a sense of well-being. Now for practice, bring into your safe space a bouquet of flowers. Just imagine a bouquet of flowers there with you in your safe space. Then send that bouquet away. Make it disappear. And know that, like everything in your safe space, you completely control what comes into it and what goes out of it. And you control what happens inside it. All right. Now, increasingly get a sense of the parts of you that are caring and strong, and will stick up for other people and what's important. To strengthen that sense of being caring and strong yourself, also get a sense of one or more people who really have loved you. So now bring into your safe space a person you know, a friend, or a family member that you care about, and bring them into your safe space to be sitting in front of you. All right, and now with that person sitting in front of you, you being this very caring and strong part of yourself, tell that person, your friend, in your mind, something important for them to know. Notice what it's like to be strong and caring and communicating important things to other people. And now thank your friend or family member for being in your safe space. And have them leave it. So now it's just you sitting comfortably inside your safe space, still feeling strong and caring. And now bring in a younger version of yourself into your safe space. It could be you as a young child or a teenager or young adult. Have that younger version of you sitting in front of you inside your safe space. Good. Now again, call up that feeling of caring and strength, along with a sense of other people who have cared about you. And to that younger you sitting in front of you, now communicate something important, something nurturing and supportive. All right. Thank that younger version of you for being inside your safe space. And let that person go. And now bring into your safe space a current version of yourself. Imagine it's you, sitting in front of you, in a chair, facing you in your safe space. As before, get a sense of being strong and caring, along with a sense of other people who have cared about you. And with that sense of being strong and caring, say something important, nurturing, and supportive to the present version of you sitting in front of you. All right. Thank the current version of you for being in your safe space. and then let him or her go. And now, in a moment, we'll bring the last person into your safe space, the critical part of yourself. But before we do this, get a sense, if you can, in your mind of what that critic might look like. Not like you at all. Could be a different gender, different size and shape, not even a human. A funny animal. And it's really okay, in fact sometimes good, to make that critic look ridiculous, silly. All right. Getting again a sense of strength and caring, with a strong sense inside you of others who have cared about you, and remembering that you have complete control over what happens inside your safe space. Bring your critic into your room and tell that person to sit down in the chair. Make that person be silent. Tell that critic that it has to listen to you. It cannot speak. It is mute. And you, feeling strong and caring for your innermost being, with the strength of all those others who have cared about you, tell the critic whatever you like about getting off your back. If the critic tries to say something, stop it. It's there only to listen. You are in charge now, and you are telling it what it needs to hear and what you want it to say. In particular, tell it what you insist that it does from now on toward the inner parts of yourself, especially the young ones. Tell it how you want it to act from now on toward those vulnerable parts of yourself. And now, make the critic get smaller and smaller in that chair. It's silent. It's heard what you've said, and it's getting smaller and smaller. A foot tall, 6 inches, the size of a bug. And then feeling your strength and the strength of caring and the strength of all the people who've cared about you. Knowing that the critic has heard you, send it out of your safe space. And now notice what it feels like to have grounded in strength and caring, protection and nurturance for yourself. And protected the vulnerable parts of yourself and told the critic off. Let whatever good feelings may be present here really sink into you. Know that you can return to your safe space whenever you like, and in fact, carry it with you wherever you go. Get a sense of being in your room, wherever you were when we began, letting go of the image of the safe space, enjoying whatever feelings of strength and caring and peace and perhaps happiness that are present here. Opening your eyes and feeling strong and supportive and caring toward yourself. This next meditation, taking refuge in what's reliable, is about the fact that most of us, much of the time, try to take refuge, in other words, to rely on things for happiness that are actually not reliable because they're impermanent. They arise based on conditions, and they pass away, unfortunately, when those conditions change. For example, if, let's say, we're happy because we're eating a popsicle when we're a little kid, what happens when the popsicle is gone? Or if we're happy because of some accomplishment of work is what we rely upon, what do we do when that accomplishment is done and the next project is facing us, or we retire? In other words, relying on external or changeable conditions for happiness is not a reliable basis of true well-being. Consider for a moment the many things you may have looked to as sources of happiness, and how many times you were disappointed or frustrated. Those things were not reliable, were they? Or consider how the happiness those things brought you. soon faded. Again, not a reliable, enduring source of well-being, contentment, and peace. It's certainly perfectly fine to try to do things in life that don't always turn out. So be it. And it's perfectly fine to enjoy things that are present as they move through awareness. But to try to grab hold of them or consider that it's they that is the fundamental rather than an intermediate source of the happiness and well-being in your life is like chasing fool's gold and thinking it's the real thing. So, what has been truly reliable for you in your life? In other words, every time you go to it, you can always count on it. Different people come to different things. For some, it is their faith in God, or in reason, or both, certainly. In Buddhism, for example, as you may know, people routinely take refuge in three things: the Buddha as a skillful teacher, as a human being, or the sense of the inner Buddha, the inner knowing quality in every person. Second, the teachings of truth. And third, the community of practitioners. In your own case, you might think about the things that you have found over the years to be reliable. It could be the love that a precious person has for you every single time. Or the way that if you just keep on trying, you can get yourself out of almost any situation. Or take refuge in your ability to discern the truth, even if other people are telling you it ain't really so. Maybe you can take refuge in the knowing of your own good intentions over the years. Sure, they weren't the only intentions you've ever had, but undoubtedly it's a fact that you can take refuge in, that you've had many, many good intentions, and probably, in fact, most of your intentions have been good over the years, because that's what's true for most people. Or you might get a sense of being able to take refuge in a basic fundamental goodness that's at the core of your heart. So, take a minute to identify one or more refuges for you, things you know for sure that you can rely upon. And then in the meditation, we'll go through just one of them so you can see how it works. So first, find a comfortable seat and get a relaxed sense of your body breathing. Get a sense of your refuge, a feeling or idea of it. Perhaps a sense of it in your body. Get a sense of how it is wholesome for you to take refuge there and to have its influence in your life. Wholesome to come from that place in your life, to have its shelter and protection. Say softly in your mind, I take refuge in whatever your refuge is. In this next meditation on letting go, we're going to explore a fundamental life skill. There's a famous quote from a meditation teacher in Southeast Asia, Ajahn Chah, who says, "If you let go a little, you'll have a little happiness. If you let go a lot, you'll have a lot of happiness. And if you let go completely, you will be completely happy." Letting go embodies the fundamental non-clinging that truly, as you can see in your everyday life, leads to the end of suffering. Now, letting go does not mean acquiescing to or turning a blind eye to mistreatment or injustice, nor does it mean being all lazy and slothful. You can pursue the highest good with great energy and effort while at the same time letting go of the results all along the way. Now, in this meditation, we'll go through a lot of little methods for letting go. First, we'll start with the body, then we'll move on to emotions, and then we'll go on to thoughts. And we'll just take 10 or 20 seconds for probably most of these suggestions. You can stop the program at any point if you want to take more time with them. It's to give you a sense of a lot of tools in your toolbox that you can use to let go of upsetting or unpleasant experiences. So, for starters, we're going to begin with the body. Let's establish a basic ability to relax. Right now, sitting here, comfortable, just breathing. As you breathe, bring your attention to 3 exhalations in a row. Notice how simply bringing your awareness to breathing out has probably helped you feel a little more relaxed. And now let's do 3 more exhalations with a specific intention to let go. And it's all right if you find yourself exhaling more fully to complete or fulfill that intention to let go. Let's do that for 3 exhalations. And now for one last technique with the breath. It's a great one if something is making you feel anxious or worried, is as you exhale, particularly relax your diaphragm. This is a part of your body that's located just below the rib cage that enables breathing to occur. You can feel it dropping down as you inhale and rising as you exhale to allow air to come in or to suck it in and then to push it out. So now, 3 times, 3 exhalations, especially relax the diaphragm. Let's do it. Now let's move from the breath to the body as a whole. Let's take a minute here to have your attention move from the very top of your head to the bottom of your feet, slowly down from head to feet. And as your attention drops down from the top of your head to your feet, get a sense of whatever tension might be in your body draining out through your feet. Let's take 1 minute to do this right now. Now let's use imagery to let go of body sensations. Get an image of being, let's say, at the pond or at the beach on a warm, wonderful, comfortable day with the sun pouring down on you, or any situation you like that brings up feelings of being really, really relaxed. Get a sense of you being there in a very relaxed, tranquil setting, with all the tension draining out of you. Good. Okay, now let's move on to letting go of emotions. And we'll explore 4 very effective methods for letting go of the negative emotions as a way to support a greater feeling of happiness and well-being. The first method is simply just to name the feeling. Own it and accept it. Like, I'm mad, or anger, or there is resentment. Owning a feeling means that you include it. You acknowledge that it's arising within your own experience and no one else's. And accepting it means that you surrender to the reality that it's there. It's not your preference, but it's there. And you're just letting it be there. So if you like, if there's any kind of negative emotion floating around somewhere in your mind right now, maybe restlessness or irritation or worry, name it to yourself right now and accept that it's here. Most people notice that if they own a difficult emotion, paradoxically, instead of it getting worse, it actually seems to get better. It's a little bit like if somebody was knocking at the door of your room and you never let them in, they just keep on knocking. But if you finally open the door and let them in, they kind of come into the room, look around, and walk away. Now, second, we're going to do a couple of body-based ways of letting go of difficult feelings. First, sense that the feeling is leaving on every exhalation. Maybe even imagining something like the emotion is a dark and smoky cloud. And as you're exhaling, it's leaving you. Maybe replaced with a positive emotion on the inhalation. So let's try that for a couple of exhalations. Just imagining that any kind of negative feeling is leaving when you exhale, even as a kind of dark and dirty cloud. Another body-based method for releasing emotion is to imagine that the emotion is draining out of your body, maybe through valves in the tips of the fingers and toes, or draining out of your body down into the earth, or even being released to the universe, or to God, the divine, whatever, may be replaced, as before, with some kind of positive emotion. So, get a sense, if you can, of some kind of negative emotion, maybe something swirling around in your mind, or just imagine something, and then get a sense of it draining out of your body, out through the tips of your fingers and the tips of your toes, or otherwise out into the earth or the universe or even the divine. Okay. Now we're going to try a third method for releasing painful emotions, imagery. Get in mind, again, a negative emotion. It could be very mild or subtle. And then imagine being in a cool mountain stream on a sunny day, with the clear, pure water washing those painful feelings away. And you can also experiment with other imagery that might really work for you, like the ocean, or cuddling in your mother's or another person's lap, standing on a high mountaintop with the cool, clear wind just blowing the clouds and the muckiness of difficult feelings away. And as you do so, keep allowing positive feelings to come in to replace the negative ones that you're releasing, such as peacefulness replacing anger, security replacing fear, contentment replacing sadness, and feelings of worth replacing shame or guilt. And then for the fourth method for dealing with difficult emotions, look for the softer, deeper, younger feelings beneath more surface ones. For example, very often under a surface feeling of anger is a deeper, softer feeling of hurt or fear or sadness. Or under a surface feeling of restlessness and irritability is sometimes a deeper feeling of unfulfillment or dissatisfaction or yearning for more from life. This is a method you can use to great effect in daily life, especially, honestly, if you're caught in some kind of upsetting interaction with somebody else. It's normal in an interaction to spew a little bit in the beginning, but then pretty soon, at least one person, hopefully, ideally both people in the interaction, will start to feel into or reflect about what might be the deeper, softer feelings and the deeper underlying needs that are underneath these kind of hard surface positions. So this is a great method to use on your own in daily life. And now, last, we'll take a quick survey of a great cognitive method, it's called, for dealing with the thoughts and letting go of problematic thoughts that are making you upset instead of happy and full of well-being. A great simple method is to become aware of a belief that's embedded in something that's upsetting you, like, I really messed up, or they're horrible, or this is a really big deal, or I'll never something. I'll never be loved again. I'll never get another job. I'll never be successful. And then get a piece of paper, draw a line down the middle of the paper, put the negative belief on one side of the page, in other words, at the top of one of the columns, and in the other column, the right-hand column, list 3 or more accurate, true, powerful, positive rebuttals to that negative belief. In other words, it's as if you have a strong advocate inside your head, the protector figure that we talked about in a previous meditation, who's arguing on your own side, who is saying to that negative belief, no, buddy, you are wrong in these 3 or more ways. This is also a great method you can use in daily life. As thoughts come along on the fly, you can do it inside your head, but it's actually most effective to do it in writing. And it sounds kind of silly, and all right, it is a little silly, but you know what? It works, especially if you do it 3 or more times. So now you've learned a number of great methods for letting go of negative experiences and creating more kind of space for you to receive positive ones. The next thing we're going to do, an inventory of the good things in your life, including your own good qualities, is more of an exercise than a meditation. So, get a few pieces of paper at least to write on and something to write with, because we're going to be making some lists here of the good things in your life, including the really good things about yourself. As we go along, feel very free to pause this program so you can write more things down. You also can pause this program and interview well-chosen people in your life to have them give you some additional good things about yourself or about your life. It's actually a wonderful exercise, and you've got the kind of face-saving cover of saying that as an exercise, to go around and ask people sincerely, well-chosen people, people who love and support you and will be nurturing with you, to go and ask people what are some of the good qualities that you have that they see about you. It's actually kind of amazing sometimes to be surprised by what people see about us, including things sometimes that we hardly knew about ourselves, but are actually really wonderful. The frame here is just the facts. In other words, this is not flattery, this is not the power of positive thinking. This is a factual inventory, like taking inventory in a department store of what's on the shelf. This is what's on your shelf of the good things in your life, and especially the good things about you. You're just being as fair and objective toward yourself as you would normally be toward other people. All right, so let's get going. So you've got something to write with, you've got something to write on. First list is the good things in my life. So just start writing. You don't need to make any long essays here. Just single items often is really effective. What are some of the good things in your life today? And as we go along, I'll suggest different kinds of categories. And remember, of course, you can stop the program at any point if you want more time to write. So, first off, what's good about where you live? Roof over your head that doesn't leak? Hot water? Toilets that work? Refrigerator? These are good things. Next, what are some of the good things about what's inside where you live? The food, the clothes, the stereo, the books, the art. Next, what's good about the people you live with, if you live with one or more people? And if you live alone, just skip this question. Next, moving outside your house, what's good about your friends and family? All right. What's good about the kind of work you do, including the work you're doing currently, whether you're drawing a paycheck or raising a family and running a home? What's good about all that? And next, looking at your life as a whole and coming up with anything that I've left out, what's good about your life in general? All right. And now let's move from your life to you yourself. And so I'll just start suggesting some of the many things that might be good about you, and feel very free to go off in different directions with this. So I'll just suggest some words along the way, and you might feel into or recognize how those actually apply to you, or similar words. So here we go. Sincere. Trying hard. Basically honest. Willing to see what's true, even if it's hard. Willing to admit it to yourself when there's some correction to be put in. Willing to admit that to others. Hoping for the best. Curious. Imaginative. Skillful with regard to many things. Keep on learning. Fair. Caring. Generous. Willing to help. loyal, moved by what's beautiful, open-minded, drawn toward the best that's inside each person. Appreciative of the awe one might feel standing out on a dark night and seeing all the stars. A fundamentally good person.